mental health problems start at an early age of 14. The onset is 14. People do not. And why it's important to talk about youth mental health is because all of these things can get pushed into adulthood. It can come, become something much bigger. So it's important that we, talk about it from a mental health, now that we're all here. There's no shame in talking about, how we felt. If we've ever felt the need to get counseling, if we've ever felt the need to seek help, right? So, because we're at such important phases of our lives, this is where, it's so formative. Our lives are going to, we're at this place where we're shaping up our lives every day by the decisions we're making, by the mindsets that we're in, right? So let's make it as comfortable as possible for us, for others, right? So the determinants of mental health are, I'm sure all of you have heard about the biopsychosocial model of psychology. The biological, if you talk about it from a youth centric approach, the biology here would be genetics. If your parents, if your first degree relatives have a history of mental health illness, you are likely to have a similar, not the same, but you could have, you're also prone to mental health illnesses, which is why it is advisable that, if somebody in your family has a history of depression, anxiety, even if it's not diagnosed, even if we acknowledge it, it's important that we have healthier coping mechanisms from the very beginning, that we actively process our emotions. And especially people like us, mental health practitioners, we hear at least 4 to 5 cases minimum every day, right? So it gets overwhelming. It is a lot of, emotions that you need to help other people organize their emotions. So it's important that we actively process our emotions as well. The other thing youths go through are hormonal changes, which could impact what their mental state could be like. The psychological aspect of it includes the coping styles that we have, how we deal with problems, how resilient we are, the life skills, problem solving skills, empathy, how we communicate with others, our attachment styles. So, all of these are the things that can determine what our mental health would be like. Then there is, when you talk about psychological listening, we have self esteem, how confident I am of myself. Moving on to social, a very, very huge impact on our mental health is played by the environment that we're in. The house, the quality of my house, the quality of my home life, the relationships that I share with my parents, the relationship that they share with each other. All of these are very important determinants of how I might feel, right? Then peers, how our friends are, what their opinions are, what their personalities are. And the school environment, of course, whether the teachers, how they acknowledge us, how they, you know, a lot of time, I'm not going to deny the fact that so many times we feel misunderstood by our teachers. And we would want them to understand some aspects. If we're not doing, some work, we could be going through a problem. So we would want people who are more understanding around us, right? So why mental health? Let's talk about why all of us present here, why we took up mental health as a subject. I'd love to know why all of you took up psychology. And I'm going to tell you why I took up psychology. Feel free to unmute yourself, feel free to write it in the chat box. Why did we take up psychology as a subject?
Well, I am actually a commerce student. I got to know about this through one of my friends because she knows that I'm dealing with anxiety. So she told me that I feel you should attend this, it might help.
That's lovely. I'm so glad that you are making acknowledgement, you are acknowledging that you are going through something, you're making active effort to deal with it. It's great. So that I can help people who fight with themselves only, solving conflict with one. Nilima, if you could tell me more about why the interest. So, why I took up psychology was when I started studying in class 12th, 11th, 12th. I started realizing more and more about myself. So, you're studying, you're also realizing things about yourself. This is something that I do, why I do this, why I have been doing this all this while. So, it gives you a better understanding as to your own self, as to your own emotions, right? The other thing is that, we have seen people who have been, dealing with feelings, who have been our parents, our siblings, our friends, ourselves, right? So even if we learn how to, help one person, that could have the butterfly effect. It could change so many lives. So as somebody who has been affected by, deteriorated mental health, it is, something that I would like to help other people with. Anybody else? Priya is here, Nashin is here. Why did you take up psychology? What was the thing that interested you?
Yeah, so for me, I took psychology because I think psychology is the subject which pays more attention towards our mental health, which is mostly, we don't mostly put our more importance on mental health and all that. I think the mental health is the most important part of our body. So for that's why I took psychology.
That's great. That's lovely. And it is a very, very important, our brain controls our body, it controls how we feel about ourselves. So, right. So let's talk about the issues that, people face as the youth, the issues that youth faces. And let's see if we can relate to it. And then we'll move on to how the steps that we can actively take to encounter what the issues that we have. So one issue that the youth faces is the pressure to conform to their peers. If my friends are doing it, I have to do it. If I'm in a group of three people and five of them are taking maths instead of psychology, should I also take up maths to be with them? So, we actively feel this a lot of times, the pressure to conform, the pressure to fit in. The other thing that we go through at this age that we're all at is it's an exploration phase. We're exploring our social identity, we are exploring our sexual identity. There are so many things that we're learning out about ourselves, what we like, what we don't, what our boundaries are, right? The pressure for achievement, the pressure to, this is the time that you study, otherwise you're going to not have the life that you've always desired. So these are the things that, like, these are the problems that people face. The increased use of technology, and, it can be a blessing. The fact that we're all connected here is the blessing that technology brings us. But there are also things that, it has its demerits, probably more than the merits, especially during COVID times. Right now, we're not sure what to, how to study, what the job aspect is going to look like, whether we're going to work from home, whether we're going to go out. So the transition from, say, working at offices, going to colleges, to going back home, then back here. So, the transition, the uncertainty is also the problem that we're facing. There's substance abuse, family environments can be problematic, parents could be fighting with you, higher expectations, neglect. So, these are all the things. And what the biggest challenge here is that, the stigma attached to mental health is, and as much as we'd like to say it's not, it's still very prevalent. So, the fact that most people right now do not talk about their mental health because the they fear that they will be judged, they fear what their colleagues are going to think, they fear what their families are going to think, right? So this is one thing, and I'm so glad to whoever was here for acknowledging that it is such an integral part of who we are, right? Now, let's talk about what we can do to sort of um, break out of these challenges if we're facing any difficulties. What can we do? So I was reading a research today which said a structured time schedule helps, and also restricted screen time. And this is a research that I was reading today. And I would also like to share that, because when we're on our screens all the time, especially Instagram, Facebook, we do not even realize we're comparing our lives, we're comparing ourselves. There is self esteem issues, there is fear of missing out. We feel like, their lives are so great. Even in the pandemic, we see so many people vacationing, but we're stuck inside. So, all of these are the problems that we face, right? When we use excessive social media, it doesn't allow us to sleep easily because the white light, it provides a lot of stimulation to the brain, which does not allow you to sleep easily. So, restricting your screen time every single day. What is really important, and this is something that I've used to actively process my problems, is I've always communicated with people. I've either reached out to, say, my friends, my family, my mother, or whoever, if I felt like none of them would understand, I have reached out to a mental health professional to actually, talk about the emotions that I'm feeling, what I can do, right? Then the other thing is that, it is important to have support systems. It's very important that we surround ourselves with people that we love. It does not have to be only family, it does not have to be only friends. It could be, somebody that we met on the internet. It could be anybody, but just getting your emotions out. Another good way to do it is journaling. So we've been using journaling with a lot of clients, and we've also been you. I journal a lot. So every time, I don't do it every day, but every time that I get overwhelmed, I write about my thoughts. I either, and I do not restrict it to, okay, this happened and so happened. Sometimes when I'm not feeling motivated, I write a letter to the future self. Or sometimes if I'm feeling guilty about something that I did, I write a letter to like some 5 years ago. Or, so just writing, getting your thoughts out on a piece of paper. If you want to save that paper so that you could read it later, that's great. If you want to destroy that paper, that's again your choice, right? So journaling helps. What helps is self-care. Self-care is extremely, extremely important for mental health professionals, for everybody, right? Now, what do we do for self-care? Self-care can be, just spending time with my pet. It could be reading my favorite book. It could be taking a day off to just lie down in bed and watch Netflix. So, let's talk about what you guys do for self care. What is it that, you feel like, okay, if I were to ask you, what does your ideal day look like to you? If I were to give you one off tomorrow and ask you to relax, what would you do?
Probably like just make some food for myself, face mask, like a skincare routine and just chill and watch Netflix without using my phone or any social media.
Right. I saw Janvi smile as soon as I asked the question. So
Yeah,
she'd
I
already
will love to
agree.
travel
Yeah.
and explore the nature.
Staying close to nature is so peaceful, it's so
Yeah,
healthy. Yeah. And so many days, it's so important for us to just lie down in bed and watch Netflix. I've been dying for a day like that where I can just sleep, not care about what I have to work, what I need to do. Just lie down in bed, watch everything that I haven't watched since a very long time. Anybody else would like to, you can leave comments also for everybody who's not in the video, who hasn't switched their video on. Yukta and Ilima, if you're still there, what do you guys do for self care? Is my voice breaking to everybody?
No, ma'am. I think there's some network problem with her. So
Okay, so yeah. So Nirma, what I said was, what would your ideal day look like to you? If I was to ask you to just relax tomorrow and take a day off from whatever you're doing right now and relax, what would you do? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? That's great. Walking. So a lot of people have said waking up early, which is something that I would never do in my self care. I would sleep in as much as I can. But it's great to know. Nilima says she'd like to dance on music loudly. And favorite food, evening, long drive. That's great. It's so nice to have these inputs from you, because somewhere when I read long drive, I also imagined me on a long drive, and it was a 2 minute therapeutic experience. Right. Any more self care? What do you guys do for self care? Wear face masks, talk to people, go out, stay in. What do you guys like doing? Okay, I think we have all the answers. Now we are going to talk about self awareness. Why self awareness is important for our mental health. So, a lot of times, what happens is that we as therapists, if I give you a solution, say if I were to tell Janvi to, go out and, wherein her coping style is just staying in, watching Netflix. If I was to tell her to do something, go out, we should be aware of our own, what we like, what self care means to us, what my boundaries are. Especially as mental health practitioners, we should be extremely aware of everything that's going on inside us, right? It's important to also label emotions. Say this is one emotion, this is two emotion. And to differentiate, when I talk about self-awareness, it's important to differentiate emotions from thoughts, right? So an example of that would be, I think that, you know, a session with fewer people is more interactive than a session with more people. This is my thought. Now, whether or not, if that makes me happy, if, I had a lot of more people, that would make me sad. That is the emotion. So, differentiating emotions from thoughts is extremely important, because a lot of times we mix up, both the things. We do not understand how to process it. So the one thing that we need to acknowledge is the feelings, and to know that what we're feeling is extremely normal. There are others who have been feeling the same way, and there is help. We can talk to our seniors about it, our parents about it, our the mental health professionals. So we also have 24/7 helpline. So if anybody would like to reach out and talk on the phone to a psychologist and have a one-on-one session, it's absolutely free of cost. So if anybody would like to reach out and just share what they're feeling, if you're looking for advice, that's okay. If you're not looking for advice, if you only want to get it out of your system, that's great, right? So this is it's a 24/7 helpline. This is one thing that reaching out to people, talking. Then a lot of times for anxiety especially, relaxation is very important. Relaxation techniques. So what we do in relaxation is that we, as mental health professionals, we should really include JPMR, a lot of relaxation in our daily schedules, right? It takes 15 minutes to do, and it's a great way. And studies have actually shown that 15 minutes of JPMR equals 2 hours of sleep. You that's how much it relaxes you. So this is one thing that if anybody would like to know more about how to do relaxation, they can feel free to reach out to the Fortis mental health this thing, or me personally. That's all right. So this is one thing. The other thing is that what are yours. You Why don't you tell me how? Say Nausheen, why don't you tell me what you do? If you're going through something, if you're feeling overwhelmed, what would your approach be to
Uh,
unwind?
for me, it will be my sister, whom I can say anything, anytime without any problem. I can share anything with her. So whenever I feel upset and anything, I just share with her. And I
Right.
feel so relaxed by sharing with her.
Right. So the process where we talk about our emotions, where we say, speak, and how it helps us relax is called catharsis, where just letting out what we're feeling helps us. It gives us a feeling of the fact that we get a lot of load off our chest. So, if there are things that you haven't, we've actively seen clients who get better just by sharing their experiences, the experiences that they've never shared with anybody, and how those experiences get presented as mental health illnesses if they do not share it with anybody. We've seen patients who have undergone neglect, abuse, they've never shared that with anybody. And that how that has presented itself as something way more, there has been a lot of mental health problems related to people who do not share. So I'm so glad, Machine, you could talk about the importance of sharing, having one safe space. If we can't find it, then there are so many mental health practitioners. And so let's talk about why a schedule is important in COVID. I see there 12 people, so and it's the same people who've been interacting. So if anybody else who's present, if they'd like to share their daily schedule, what they do during the day, or if they even have a schedule, it's okay to not have one. Right now, everything's sort of jumbled up. There's no time to sleep. There's no one time to sleep. No time to wake up.
Yeah, exactly. It's all that jumbled in one thing. So, not a proper schedule.
Right. Okay. So when we talk about a schedule, when I work with clients, when we're making schedules to actively, we have seen that it helps in the feeling of, when they're feeling low, when they're feeling anxious. Having a schedule really helps because there is a sense of accomplishment, there is a structure to your day, you have a sense of motivation, you have a target to get through, right? So it's important that we make, especially in these days, I'm not going to preach that you should wake up at one time every day. That's impossible. And when we set more strict, more stringent rules for ourselves, it's even harder to follow. So making flexible schedules during the day, say having a certain time range to wake up to do, say I have to be up by 11:30. From 11:30 to 1, this is just an example, this is not the time that I'm suggesting. Right? So you can work that around. So talking about, say, from 11:30, if I wake up till 1:30, I should have had a bath, I should have had my breakfast, I should have done my morning ritual, right? And then this is the we can do the same thing at night, right? So this is we can have time range. This is extremely important. And this, as mental health practitioners, these are the things that we're actively going to tell people. So it's also important to inculcate all these in our own lives. Having coping mechanisms, having self-care routines, having pre-bedtime routines. It's very important when we have to, because we have the burden of taking care of so many people and so many emotions, right? And how we need to help them process it. It's also important that we process our own emotions. We also feel okay ourselves. So many times we feel overwhelmed. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, how am I going to help another person feel better? Right? So this is something that's extremely. This is why it's important for us to talk about why mental health is important. And the stats that we spoke about, they're alarming, and we together we can change all of this by reaching out, in situations where we're feeling bad, by not being a part of that stat. And for people who are not feeling that emotion actively, it's important that we help others, right? By studying, by attaining proper. So we've seen a lot of psychologists who do not have proper qualification to practice. But we've seen a lot of that on Instagram. We've seen a lot of that everywhere around us. So it's important that we make sure that we're taking advice from the right authentic people. We know that this is the qualification that is needed to be able to say that I'm so and so, because I've done my MA. I'm a counseling psychologist. I have done my MA in clinical psychology, but I am a counseling psychologist. So all of this is important, that we be mindful of the things that we're doing on the internet, that we advocate against. There's cyberbullying right now, right? So talking about cyberbullying, what we can do is that we offer support to the people who have been cyberbullied. We talk about our problems. We talk about our problems on a bigger platform so that more and more people want to reach out to us, right? But the basic things that we can do have, been, say, self-care, having a schedule, having to-do list in the beginning. Every day, the first thing that I do when I come to work is I make a day chart and I write all the things that I'm supposed to do, and then I keep canceling them out. So it also keeps me motivated that okay, I've done 5 things, I only have 3 more to do. And it also, it helps me get more and more. And by the end of the day, once I've accomplished all of them, I have a sense of achievement. I feel like I've done something. So it's very important to foster all these things, all these practices. Taking a digital detox every day, switching your phone for half an hour. And why I spoke about um, self care, what interests you, is do more and more of that. Nosheen should, go take a walk every day for half an hour. If that's what her ideal day looks like. One, we should just switch her phone off and watch Netflix. For somebody who likes dancing on loud music, should do it every day for 10 minutes. So including these activities. If somebody likes painting, if that's what makes you happy, then doing more and more of that, right? And being aware. So, and one thing that I haven't spoken about all yet, and which is my favorite, is practicing gratitude is extremely important, right, for our mental health. I have a gratitude journal that I log every day, and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for that day. So even if I've had the worst day possible, if nothing's going according to me, I still manage to find 3 things that I've been grateful for. In situations that have been bad, if somebody's lent a helping hand, that can be something. So that makes me feel like even on the days that are not going according to me, I do not feel in control of the things that are happening. It helps me actively, think, okay, so there are good things also that are happening. It does not, it makes me more grateful, it makes me more positive, it gives me energy to get up tomorrow and actually engage in, more work, to actually do more things. That doesn't let me get derailed, it does not let me get demotivated. So we usually, what we do is, in the end, we keep the last few minutes for question and answers. So if anybody has questions, otherwise we'll do this activity. Will I also write three things I'm grateful for today? I'll log it here today. And I'd like all of you to do this. It's a very therapeutic activity. I hope all of you have a great day after this. And this activity is really, it helps me. So three things that we've been grateful for today. Even if you've had a bad day, what are the three good things that have happened to you?
For me, I think I need to think about those three things.
Think it's okay. Even I'm thinking, I'm doing this as we're writing because we still have time. Go ahead, think. Waking up today all healthy for the people who checked up on me and for the strength to deal with. It's very beautiful. Unquenchable thirst says having all basic needs and having good people around.
Yeah, I remember that I found my childhood drawing book while cleaning. So I think that make me so happy, that childhood drawing book. So
That's great. That's great. I know it gives you a feeling of nostalgia. It brings
wow,
back so
that was
many memories.
wow.
Yeah. It brings
That
back so
makes
many
me love
memories.
myself. Oh,
I know the feeling. I recently found a lot of my paintings with a lot of birthday cards that I received from my friends where they've misspelled my name. So in my birthday card, they spelled my name wrong. So, but it's still, I was still grateful because, I had friends who would make me cards and who would take that extra effort out. Is anybody thankful for the sleep that they got last night? Did anybody get a good 7, 8 hours of sleep last night? Yes, says all my friends and family are safe. I'm not sick. I have no assignments or anything for today. The last point, Priya, I am envious of you. But that's great. Thank you for sharing. Anybody who got a good night's sleep, 7 to 8 hours last night. None of you were for 10 people here. None of us got slept well at night. So, did you guys not sleep well because you guys were on your phones working? Why did you guys not sleep well? What was keeping you up at night?
Me overthinking, my thoughts kept me awake. Like I used to, I sleep and then like all of a sudden these thoughts pop up and I wake up and then I don't get sleep. Mm.
Right, I would actually, you should, Rani, it's important that, you reach out to somebody and, if you are battling these thoughts, it's important that you talk to somebody about it and let these thoughts out. Help hopefully to any mental health professional, right? That's convenient for you. There is a lot of work that you can do with your thoughts. There are thought records. There are a lot of things that, would be difficult to cover today, but could be helpful. Got 6 hours of good sleep, but unfortunately got to wake up because of class. I understand. I also woke up very early for the hospital. So, Nasheen, why don't you share why you didn't sleep well? What were you doing?
Actually, I'm not hearing. I think there's a noise in background.
I was facing that too, but we couldn't do it. Anyway, anybody who has questions, let's take up questions now and then we'll end our session. We're only left with say 8 to 9 minutes. If anybody has any questions relating to mental health, if you want me to, so admin says, finally able to build my routine again, spend time with my nephew, most importantly, I'm alive. That's very, very thoughtful. I'm glad that you're spending time with your loved ones. It's very important in COVID times because that's the only outlet that we have, that's the only social life that we have. If any of you would like me to share the Fortis mental health number, the helpline number that is 24. Wait, I'll just be sharing that number with all of
Till
you.
then, if anyone is having any question, he or she can ask, or you can type your question in the comment section.
This is the Fortis mental health helpline number. Okay. Any questions, anybody?
So, ma'am, I think it was a really insightful session, and we are not left with any questions. It just we're feeling so grateful to have this session and to have a person who can really talk about this thing, which is we all talk like mental health is not a taboo anymore. We are getting aware, but the real thing is we are not still open to talk about it. We think so. We take so much time about talking about this much important topic. We're just thinking and thinking and thinking, but not processing with words. But with you, it was really great. So thank you so much for sharing such beautiful things. They're really minimal, but holds a huge importance in life. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. And also,
Thank,
as a token of love and gratitude, we would like to present an e-certificate to you because
that's
your
so
time is
sweet.
worth it. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much to everybody
Nice.
who was
Thank
here
you,
today.
ma'am, for your valuable time.
Hey, thank you. That means so much. That's a very sweet gesture on your end.
And yes, ma'am, this will be emailed to you as well. So
Right,
thank you
love.
so much for coming and sparing this much time. This 1 hour was really beautiful and informative. And it's memorable for me, and I think the one who attended the session for them as well.
I hope all of us take back things, I hope I can, if today I'm not feeling happy doing the things that I usually cope with. I hope I can learn from your things. I can try from all your coping styles. Hopefully,
Yes,
have.
it is the utmost need of an hour at this very time.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad all of you feel this way. And for anybody who wants any more help, any more, information about anything pertaining to mental health, can reach to the FORTIS handle. And we're on a lot of different platforms. We're on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Quora. So we're on all these platforms. If anybody would like to reach out more, right? And I'm thankful for you to give me this opportunity to talk about mental health and why it's important to all 14 tennis you, right? Thank you so much. Thank you. Is it okay if I end the meeting?
Yes, ma'am, sure, you can.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. It was lovely hosting this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being here, and thank you for taking time for yourself.
Kindly to fill the feedback form.